All right, so we're going to give the internet a couple seconds to catch up, and we are now live. Welcome, everyone, to episode 11 of the Level Up Your Wealth podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Marcus Howard, joined by Mario and Jonathan. Mario, please introduce yourself, and excited to talk to you about education, Jonathan.
Yes, education is the key. So Mario painting, beautiful Jacksonville, Florida. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, but it's not snowing here, but we will still take it. Jonathan, I'm pretty sure Hawaii, no snow over there either, is it?
Not quite. Although it's winter season now.
Yeah.
It's like 80 and overcast, and it's pretty chilly. Like I wore a long sleeve shirt yesterday, so it's cold for Hawaii,
Yeah.
but it's pretty awesome.
Thank you, everybody who's joining us online. Let us know where you're tuning in from. If you're tuning in from Hawaii or Florida, where Mario and I are from, or where we both live, or anywhere around the country, around the world, we're excited for you to be a part of this conversation as we discuss the future of education. I've known Jonathan now, I think, like 8 years, maybe going on 10 years.
I mean, definitely from Atlanta. You and your brother, Project MQ days, all the GGDA stuff. I mean, probably 8-10 years going on now. Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and we both know Kat. I think, was it Nicholas?
Yeah, Kat DeShields at she was at High Res, and now she's at Shell Games in Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Ooh,
And
Puerto
you go on.
Rico.
Go ahead.
Okay. Now I'm looking at the chat. So we have Williamsburg, Virginia, probably a little bit chilly there. Puerto Rico is probably beautiful with Puerto Rico, I'd imagine. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Awesome. I recognize those names. Lem, Denise, they're actually students of GameDevHQ. So thanks for showing up, guys.
Oh, there we go. The student. Okay.
Can you do a quick intro for people who aren't familiar with GameDevHQ about
sure.
what it is and how you got inspired to do that? Because you started in game development and now you run your own company. Well, a separate.
Yeah. So my name is Jonathan Weinberger. I'm the CEO of GameDevHQ. I wasn't always in the training space, although I have been training software engineers and Unity developers since like 2010. But I'm a self-taught software engineer. Got started programming, video games by building RuneScape private servers. I was a huge MMORPG fan. Got my first introduction to like Java coding when I was like 14, 15 years old. And then I started picking up Unity pretty much the day it became free. Which was the initial release version of like 2.6, like 15 years ago with Unity. So I pretty much obsessed with it, got super addicted to like writing code and understanding how things work. I was a terrible student through school. So, going the traditional CS route wasn't really an option for me. And society kept telling me I had to do that. And I truthfully just kind of gave it my middle finger the entire way through, paved my own path. And then now I kind of full time GameDevHQ, we help non-traditional tech backgrounds break into tech every single day, from hospitality workers, bartenders, hotel staff, people that have never written a single line of code, to documenting and demonstrating more knowledge than any four-year college grad would ever think to in a matter of weeks. So it's been pretty exciting.
How when I was in college, I did C++ and a little bit of COBOL. Yeah, little dangerous, right? But how easy is it to actually go from not knowing anything about tech to writing code, and then the process through the schooling? Is it a year-long process, 9 months? Kind of walk us through that process.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So coding can be really daunting for people who've never done it before. But I think, I see some students in this room here. I think they would agree that we've broken it down to where we make like my job is to make technical topics make sense for you. And the thing I tell all my students is I strive to help you unlock that eureka moment where things just click. If you ask me to put like how can someone with no programming experience just start doing this? What's that process like? Truthfully, if you have a desire and a passion to learn technology, like that's where we can strive and we can accelerate your learning. You have to want to learn. The secret to becoming a great software engineer is actually not the ability to learn technical topics. It's the ability to communicate. That's what gets you hired in this industry. Anyone can train you to be a better dev, but they can't train you necessarily not to be a jerk or have passion and excitement for what you do. So it's like, if you're excited about learning, the benefit of like GameDevHQ and everything that we've built is we use game development as a gateway to software engineering. And so while the $200 billion games industry is amazing, and it's way more fun to program and build video games than it is to build like accounting software, Java applet software, or C++ console stuff, The reality, though, is that that skill set, it carries over seamlessly to the enterprise world, but we leverage the learning and the accelerated growth through video games.
Yeah, I saw the same thing, as John mentioned, my brother and I used to have a platform and a community for indie game developers and indie game fans. And I, unfortunately, because game discovery is still broken, because we weren't able to scale the solution we had that was working. I saw a developer here in Florida who was a solo dev working on his own game, had a retro kind of theme to it. It was kind of like a Metroidvania, right? Castlevania, Metroid type game. And he wasn't able to get the audience that he needed to support his game. And so he basically quit building games, but the skill set allowed him to almost immediately get started as a full-time, like non-gaming software developer. It's 100% transferable.
Yeah. And that's the languages we work with, right? So Unity, C#, you got Unreal, C++. C++ today is still one of the most popular programming languages around. Custom game studios all the time are using it. Like you have like Naughty Dog, Rockstar, EA. They all still use their C++ game engines. But there's thousands of opportunities. Right now, the XR industry, virtual reality and augmented reality, it's the fastest growing $1 trillion marketplace in existence right now. And it's all 80% of that is powered by Unity and C#. And so the colleges can't even keep up. They're 7 to 11 years behind on being able to deliver curriculum for that. And we built out a 2022 XR interaction like work path or workforce development pathway for that tech, because it's so changing. It changes every 2 weeks right now. But it's a really exciting way to get involved in tech. And if you've ever really, it's just a passion for learning. Mario, you mentioned something about like how long or something.
Yeah.
I believe if you were to spend 20 hours on any type of subject, you might not be this most amazing expert, but it would give you enough to figure out, is this something that I actually want to pursue deeper? And the way our program is structured is if you're just consistently doing this 2 hours a day, that's a minimum it takes, 2 hours a day, do that consistently for the next 6 to 8 months, and I promise you're going to have a career change, because you will be this qualified engineer. It's all about consistency, and it's all about a desire to like want to learn this stuff.
2 hours a day. Wow.
2 hours a day.
2 hours a day keeps the doctor away, I guess, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. You'd be amazed. What our students are capable of in a matter of weeks when they're going through this.
Can you talk about the earning potential for that, right? That 6 to 8 month period? What does that look like?
Yeah. So there's industry standards, and then there's what we report. So this year, for just 2023 alone, like GameDevHQ students, every time a student gets hired, they submit a reporting form for us. This year we're at $88,000 starting salary.
Wow.
And most of these students, they come from hospitality, bartending backgrounds. They didn't come from an IT background. They don't have CS degrees. That data gets a little skewed when you factor in some of the California hires. The California hires, I mean, they're 96 to 130. Some of them got like 155K offers this year doing crazy XR stuff. But typically what we saw in like 2020, 2021 was this baseline of 50 to 60K. That baseline has increased this year to where I don't think I saw anything come in under 65, 68,000 this year. And the demand for engineers, I mean, we need I think it's like 1 million engineers in just the United States by 2025, according to like the whole Bureau of Labor. And then we track ourselves the metrics, and it's sad that LinkedIn like blows us out every month, and it's December, and I think the hiring tones down, but consecutively from January to like September, we saw almost 300,000 jobs combined for C# and C++ developers. And the code you write in Unity and code you write to create virtual reality experiences or video games, it's the same code that Walmart, UPS, AT&T is using in their backends. It all carries over seamlessly there. So it's a huge market opportunity.
So and a little bit biased. So my alma mater at Tennessee State, I actually serve on a foundation board. So definitely support your university, support the foundation, pay it forward to the students. So okay, I'm biased. But so you said schools are 7 to 9 years behind. What do they need to do to be caught up?
That's a great question. What do they need to do to be caught up? So one, I think they need to start hiring more actual industry people. People that are actually on top of this stuff. Especially, right now there's a huge shift to get coding into schools through esports and things like that. Like we've talked to Marcus and I, and we work together with Isaiah, with Alperian. We have talked to many middle schoolers and high schoolers and even elementary schools where they're trying to get esports and coding into the classroom. And the problem is that the teachers have to learn this stuff to be able to teach it. And they don't really want to learn it half the time, or they're not capable. I mean, I've been teaching English for 20 years and now I'm being told I have to teach Python or something like that. That's a challenging thing to do. At that level, that's challenging. I don't think the industry, like I certainly wouldn't. If someone asked me, hey, do you want to come teach like a bunch of high schoolers how to code in the classroom? I probably would, or say I don't want to do that either. The colleges, it's no different. The professors that we're seeing here, I mean, they're just reading off of other people's materials. They're not really the ones actually authoring this curriculum, which is a big shift in what we're doing in 2024, where we're releasing textbooks on this stuff. We wrote the book on how this works, whether it's C++ for game programming or C# for Unity engineering. Like our instructors, and we have, I'm biased, of course, but the instructors at GameDevHQ, like we poached the master trainer from Unity specifically to help us lead not just the Unity track for 2024, but also the C++ Unreal track, because for those who don't know, Joshua Kinney, not only was he the master trainer at Unity for like 7 years, but before that, he worked for a company called Digital Tutors, which got acquired by Pluralsight like 10 years ago, where that was the only place to learn Unreal development in C++ back in the day. And so we're now kind of revolutionizing the education space with this whole new curriculum format. And until the colleges are going to invest the way I'm investing to make sure that we're training the best engineers, they will continue to forever be behind because they just don't have the resources. They have, you look at any CS college in America, they have 12 other degree programs that are outside of computer science. How could they possibly focus on the latest developments to Unity, the latest developments to XR, Unreal, and the entire games industry as a whole? They don't have the resources to.
Wow. So from a scaling standpoint, so how long has your university been, and like each year, how many people that came into the program, graduated, kind of talks about the scaling of your business?
Yeah, so it's a loose word. So we're not a university. I have to make sure we say that we're not a university. Yes, we're not a university. Although that is looking to change. So we are actually filing right now for to be a licensed, authorized school and accreditation program here in Hawaii, which would actually be nationally recognized if that goes through. And we're very hopeful because this new initiative that we're doing with our textbook stuff. I mean, it's the most scholastic collegiate stuff we've ever released, and the goal of everything we're doing is to truthfully, I want to put every CS college. They have two choices: either stop offering CS programs or buy and license what we do, because we actually enroll. We speak to so many college grads who have CS degrees, whether it's a master's degree or bachelor's degree, and the quality of the education there is not in line with what you actually need to know to get hired today or tomorrow. So when you talk about like graduation rates, so we're a small school still. We started back in the pandemic, back in like 2020. We've enrolled over 460 students. The current metric of how we measure is based on doing the program as designed. There's a lot of things that students have to do to meet that metric. But if the student does exactly what we need them to do, about 95% of them are fully placed into an engineering role that's greater than $50,000 or more in a 6 to 8 month period. And then if you go at it full time, we've had people who are even, people get hired in like 6 to 8 weeks sometimes. We've had students within 12 days. They go through our career prep and they came to us because they had like 7 years of engineering experience before us. And as soon as we just get our hands on their LinkedIn, that's it. The job offers came in and flooded them and they got hired. That's the number one thing that there you go. So Denise, I just saw that message pop up. Many students, and like I don't want to name drop any colleges on here, but I will tell you, look up any CS college. I've guarantee you, I've talked to almost every single one of them. Students of those colleges have become GameDevHQ students, and we have then taken it further to get them upskilled with the knowledge gaps they're missing and handling the career placement side of it to actually get them placed. And it drives me up a wall because some of these degrees are costing $60,000 to $130,000 for a 4-year education, and that student feels like they need more training.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't make sense. So my whole thing for 2024 is to, truthfully, I would like to put all the CS colleges out of business. I don't need to charge $80,000 for a 4-year degree. We have a program that's 8 months in length that will be released in 2024. It's about 8 to 12 months. And the mission at GameDevHQ, like our core value, is to train the best software engineers on the planet. And through that, we change lives.
Yeah. And we're piloting some of that over in San Antonio. Jonathan and I are working on a program where the Black and Hispanic San Antonian community is able to basically upskill themselves to raise themselves out of poverty, off the welfare system. So there's a grant program. The city has elected to create kind of a special tax to fund this program, and we're able to provide that at basically no cost to the student, to shift them from working 2 or 3 jobs, and nothing against people who work in fast food, but like 2 or 3 jobs, flipping burgers, still not making enough to support a family, to having a family sustaining salary. And then that's a win-win for the city, right? Because if you're making $50, $60, $70, $80,000 a year, you're now paying taxes from your purchases, which ultimately goes back into the city. Yeah. So we're really excited about that, having a meaningful impact, and also fixing the part of the problem with the tech pipeline. There's a tech pipeline, kind of talent pipeline issue into both the tech and the gaming industry. When you look at these larger organizations that don't have kind of percentages of talent that represent the wider US population, one of the main excuses or reasons they state is that they just don't have access to the talent. So if we're able to fix that side of it, then we can get more people and more diversity into the workforce.
So another question, Jonathan. So I'm an employer, right? And a person goes to a 4-year university and then uses your curriculum. I'm not asking why, but why would they pick a person using your curriculum than a person who went through a 4-year degree? Do you see any biasness between employers, or let us know why they would pick? I know it's working, but just tell the people why they would pick your curriculum instead of 4-year university.
I think it comes down to, let's assume. So in that scenario, that's assuming a college has licensed our curriculum. If that's the case, it's not any different than what GameDevHQ is doing, except for the fact that where colleges will continue to lose for the rest of the life is they will never be able to get away from general education. If they want to offer associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, masters, and PhDs, by law, the DOE is going to require 40 to 60 hours of education or general ed. So you have to take your humanity courses, your science, your arts, and things like that. So if you know what you want to do already, we're positioning ourselves more as a college alternative now. So you can skip all the gen ed and just focus on this super narrow structured track where you're going to learn what you actually need to learn to get hired, which doesn't necessarily relate to always what you want to learn. Like on our platform, you're not going to learn to create racing games or RPG games. It's not my job to show you how to build those games. It's my job to teach you what it is to be a software engineer, teach you what you need to know so that you can get hired. And then if you want to go make those games, fantastic. You're a software engineer, go do that. Now, when you look at like the comparisons of, and it goes all the way up the chain from the worst CS college in America to even what I would quote the Ivy Leagues. When you look at one of their students compared to us, there's a few things that you're going to find. One, they have this degree, which is great, but for the last 20 years, that degree has diminished. I trained Apple for 6 weeks when I was working at Unity, and I was in a room with the most intelligent people of my life. Harvard PhDs, MIT, Stanford computer science degrees from like 2003, 2006, people that worked on the original iPhone. And here I am, a GED, coming in to teach them C# and Unity. And I'm just like, you guys need me? It was awesome. I mean, it was great, but it showed how that degree was fascinating to have 20 years ago. Today, that's not really the case. When you look at a GameDevHQ student, you're going to see 7 to 11 completed projects in a portfolio. It's completely documented. One of the things we love to brag about with our students is that they genuinely would demonstrate more knowledge in the next 6 to 12 weeks with us than any 4-year college grad would ever think to. College students have a dozen courses to focus on, and they only actually get about 2 years, if that, working on their actual skill. Versus our program is designed to fast track you. Here's what you need to know. Here's the portfolio projects we want you to build. And you just look like a developer. It's no longer a question of where did you go to school? It's, oh, wow, like when can you start?
That's cool. That's great information. So take it a step further. The average person graduating makes about 48 to $60,000 on the high end, right? So tell me some success stories and like how happy your graduates are about landing jobs that's making more than the average person.
Yeah, I mean, it's life changing. You know what? I mean, I can name drop some people. I mean, there's people in here right now, like Brian Stong, who was in here, who can tell you. I think he went from line cook to $70,000 in his first job.
Wow.
I mean, this is a recurring story with GameDevHQ. Another guy, a great guy, example of this is Ethan Martin, who's really we highlight him all the time. He was a father of three, a bank teller, 40 hours a week, earning $15 an hour, and he had like 2 hours a day. And within 100 days, doing the consistency of what we needed him to do and teaching him how to strategically network with employers around him, within 100 days, he joined a VR startup, and he went from $15 an hour to $60K. 9 months later, once you get that first job, that is it. You are now part of this industry. And we'll actually help our students do this, where you get that first job making 60. That is the floor of this industry. 9 months later, he's now working for a VR medical company, doing six figures.
Woo.
And like that happens all the time. We have another example here in Hawaii locally. This guy, Austin McCrell, bartender for 9 years. And he went through this program, and he's now doing VR game development for a California company, fully remote here in Hawaii, making about $110,000 a year. Like that's the reality of this industry, and nobody cares where you went to school because schools are not even teaching the XR industry. Nonetheless, the XR industry is still updating. The Vision OS is not even released yet, and I'm pretty sure the only place you can learn it is either through Dilmar on YouTube or GameDevHQ's XR pathway. So it's just we have the ability and the investment to just say we are going to make sure that our students are learning what they need to learn to stay relevant and to stay at the forefront. Why would you hire a GameDevHQ grad over a college grad? It's because our students have practical engineering experience. They're actually doing what you need them to do.
That's cool. Side question: what are your thoughts about what's going on with Unity right now?
That was a good one. So okay, so we specialize. I've been a Unity user for like 15 years, man. I love Unity. If it wasn't for Unity, I would have never gotten into programming. I tried C++, I tried Unreal, too hard. 15 years ago, I couldn't do it. So I picked up Unity. C# was closer to Java, which is what RuneScape private servers were, and I fell in love with it. I've been a huge supporter for Unity. We've also partnered with them for years. They lit themselves on fire back in September. They definitely did. And, you know, we got trolled all over Reddit because I made a post defending them that Unity deserves to be profitable, which they do. Like, I wholeheartedly believe that as a company, they deserve to be profitable. Did they do this the right way in the way they did that? Absolutely not. Now, that being said, and I'll be honest, January of this year, I doubled down hard on Unity. I thought Unity was going to take over the world because even today, even though they lit themselves on fire back in September, the XR industry, the enterprise industry for games, and keep in mind, everything we do at GameDevHQ, it's game development as a gateway to software engineering. The $200 billion games industry is nothing compared to what we actually have access to. We have access to $1 trillion marketplace when you look at just Unity in the beyond games industry. And I'm talking everything from film to automotive to architecture, engineering, construction, simulation, the medical, the entire metaverse is built with Unity, and that is not going to change. Specifically because those licensing changes that everyone got upset about, it doesn't even affect the enterprise industries. It only affects mobile games and big publishers. So when all that happened, everyone is up in arms, but I looked at it as, let me see how that's actually going to affect the employer who we just talked to that's adding 400 XR jobs to their roster. No effect. No effect. If that affected it, then I'd be like, huh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
But I will say, not in support of the changes they made, but I recognize that I don't really care about the changes and how it impacted the games industry because I don't get my students jobs in the games industry. If they want that, it's available. But I want my students working $50,000, $70,000 jobs, and Lockheed Martin's going to hire you all day long. And they do a whole bunch of defense simulation enterprise stuff that has nothing to do with those licensing changes. So when people ask, like, you know, what do I think of all that stuff? It's how you look at it. That being said, though, you know, we made some serious investments with instructors and a lot of developments going towards Unity. And when that happened in September, it was a wake-up call to us that we should diversify our students. Like, we already focus on the beyond games industry. Let's just conquer the entire beyond games industry. You know, Unreal Engine does a lot for the beyond games industry as well, from architecture to engineering to virtual film production. Everything from Mandalorian and movies today, Unreal is the leader in that space, and it's going to stay that way because Unity just canned the entire live team that they had, which was working on all their virtual tools. They also just dropped the Weta digital tools. So Unreal is going to take the cake on that. But that being said, we made a pivot decision back in about June, before Unity even did this, that we were going to introduce our students to be engine agnostic. We were going to always plan to do C++ and Unreal in 2024. The announcements that happened in September just fast-tracked it to what we're doing now. And then we just took it a step further, where I never really cared about how the colleges are doing what they're doing. We get students that graduate $60,000 to $80,000 in debt, and then we help them get hired in 9 weeks. It drives me nuts because I think it's ridiculous that they're not angry with their school. You know, they just paid all this money and they're in debt. But one of the things when we started noticing is the Ivy Leagues are slipping. It used to be one thing. If you went to a great school, I'm not going to name drop specifics, but if you went to one of the Ivy League schools in the country, that's why you got hired, because they actually took the initiative to train you up the way you needed to, and they made sure that you got a job. And what we're seeing now is even the Ivy Leagues are slipping. Those students that are graduating are never going to be employed as software engineers because the fundamentals aren't even there. And so that's why we're now shifting everything we're doing to be this true college experience, true college alternative, because we're going to train the best engineers on the planet, and we're going to cut prices across the board to where these schools are either going to have to buy us or they're going to have to license the curriculum, because I promise you our students will get jobs over any four-year college grad any day here.
Yeah. So and that's great information. From a business model standpoint, your hope as you continue to scale is to license it out to other colleges so that they can be ahead of the curve and you can bring in more people and help. Is that, from a business model standpoint, the way that you're looking at it?
So, I mean, it's an option, right? Like, I'm more so interested in just being acquired by like a game dev college or something like that. Hey, like, go ahead and like, go ahead and acquire us. But we're going to be in a position now where it's possible. You know, I don't think there's even a university still in America where the professor actually wrote their textbook. I don't think that exists anymore in the CS realm. They're still teaching off of 10, 15, 20-year-old textbooks, even at the Ivy Leagues. And we've talked to the Ivy Leagues, and it blows my mind how of the quality output that's coming out of there. And so we look at it as, okay, I'm going to just do what you guys do, and I'm going to do it 10 times better. We're going to author our own textbooks, and we're just going to have this narrow structure. While you guys continue to require general ed studies, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to create the best engineers that I know I can create.
Yeah, I saw recently, I'm not going to name the university, but in this past week, I saw a major university in New York announce that they are launching a game dev program starting in the spring. And in that process, you know, I adjunct teach esports at a HBCU. The accreditation process takes like 18 months from we want to have a program offered to students to like the students can take it. It's 18 to 24 months, right? And as Jonathan said, like this space is evolving at breakneck speed. So how is it possible for something that you authored 18 months ago, and then the student takes 4 years to get through the program to take that one course or those set of courses? So now they're like 4 to 6 years removed from the thing that was authored, that it's still relevant and useful and makes them competitive in today's marketplace.
Yeah, and we're seeing more of that, right? So we're in the category of coding boot camps right now, but we're a little bit different, where many coding boot camps, they're 16 to 24 weeks, super intensive, 60 to 80-hour weeks. They don't fit the schedule of someone who has a busy schedule, versus we designed our program to fit the lifestyle of someone really busy. And just that simple dedication of 2 hours a day, we can change your life. That being said, though, in 2022 alone, I haven't seen the numbers for this year, but 2022 alone, there was over $1 billion worth of acquisitions across the board for coding boot camps. And what we saw is those coding boot camps, some of them got acquired by other code schools to grab market share, but also we saw a lot of community colleges picking up coding boot camps, and now they're offering their technical degree programs through the boot camps. So you can actually go to that boot camp, and then they're going to give you, let's say, 20 credits towards their CS degree that you could apply towards like a 4-year degree. That is an absolute reality of what could happen for GameDevHQ. We don't need to be bought to do that. We can do licensing agreements now with those universities. It's just a matter of why. like why? And I've been in education. I do a lot of things with education here in Hawaii, and I've been invited to a lot of. There's only 4 colleges here, and I've been invited to a lot of the panels there where they bring in industry and education, and the goal for them is to figure out, how do we keep you for 4 years? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Like, no, I can get you upskilled and trained in 6 to 8 months and earning $70,000. I promise you that's the better route than going 4 years for this piece of paper,
Yeah.
especially in a tech route.
Yeah. And I would agree, again, biased because I serve on the foundation board of my alma mater, but definitely I can definitely say school for me was more about relationships, being in social settings and things of that nature than more like, I mean, I have my own investment firm. Like, I didn't learn how to run an investment firm in college. It was more just like the social aspect of it. So definitely, if a person's going to tech route, they're able to kind of cut costs and then fast track to a job. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, and I think that's who it's for, right? It's for that. I didn't take the traditional college route. I couldn't get into the best schools, or any school for that matter. Like, I didn't finish high school, so I had to get a GED. My wife talks about this all the time. She had that traditional college experience. She did 4 years at University of Florida. She did her master's at Emory. She got her 2 degrees before I ever got one. And she talks about that all the time. Is you missed out on like your college years, and I think Gary Vee talks about this all the time. If you have the means to go to college, fantastic. Go enjoy your 4-year vacation, because that's what it was. And I met her when we were in college, and that's what it was. I got to hang out with her and all of her college friends and do all the college things. So I didn't miss out on that, but I didn't have it myself. And I recognize that that's the one thing I'm missing. But I also recognize, I've talked to so many people that they don't want to go to college. Their parents don't want to send them to traditional schools. They don't like what's happening with the pricing of college, and they don't like what's happening with just in general the climate of schools and college these days. So they're like looking for alternatives. We have so much interest right now from just early high school career seekers, homeschools, where we're looking for a new way for education. And also, I don't want to spend $80,000 to send my kid to college.
Yeah.
You don't have to with us.
Yeah, not expensive. All right, so we have a question from Mr. Fernando. All right, so he said from YouTube. Oh, we got YouTube, LinkedIn. Okay. All right, so what I've noticed is that even if you have studied courses as the GDHQ course, companies and recruiters are really afraid of giving a job to a junior game developers. What should a junior do?
Yeah, so something like that, it comes down to documenting your experience. Take away the guesswork on whether or not you're qualified for the job. One of the ways our programs, our students do this is by documenting their experience. So we have a whole proven process for how this works and how it's even possible, 2 hours a day. And the way you do it is you learn the material, you implement, and then you document it. That concept of what is it? See one, do one, teach one. By you demonstrating your knowledge, you're taking away the guesswork on whether or not you're qualified as a software engineer. Show the employers that, hey, I'm the most passionate, driven individual on the block right now. Look at any 4-year college grad, and I promise you, they're not documenting anything until they graduate with a degree, and then they finally create their LinkedIn and say, I'm open to work.
Yeah.
Versus our students, you can have an entire backlog of the last 130 days of what you've been working on and showcase that. A portfolio is also worth a million words to an employer. Being able to demonstrate the portfolio you have, highlight that you're a game developer and software engineer. Prove to the world that you can do what you say you want to do. Take away the guesswork so that I can then focus 80% of that interview on, are you a culture fit for our team? Because that's the thing that's going to get you hired. Anyone can train you to be a better dev. But if you can't communicate well, or if you have personality issues, like that's really where it comes down to. Like, even with the realm of AI today, people hire people,
Right?
Yeah.
And it's going to stay that way.
Yeah. So I know that is a sore subject for developers, is AI, and it's going to take over my job. So what are your thought processes? Do you think AI is a helper, is a hindrance, and what do you see the industry because of AI over time?
Before you do
So
Jonathan, I think I saw it recently. It was a survey. GitHub users, like 86% of them used AI in some capacity in the last 12 months.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I love it. I don't recall the last time, we teach our students to use Google to solve problems and research and things like that. And part of being a great software engineer is the ability to debug and solve problems by asking the right questions. Once you know how to ask the right questions, AI is invaluable. I use ChatGPT all the time. I don't think I've actually used Google to solve a coding problem in like 2 years now. ChatGPT is just that good. It's not about telling ChatGPT, hey, how do I build this game mechanic? It's about, I know how to solve that problem and I'm running into an issue and I now have an engineer to talk to. It's almost like this rubber duck effect. So engineers all throughout, I know everyone, all of my engineering friends, whether they're at like big companies or small companies, they're using AI on the job. They have a true rubber duck to talk to versus before, you know, you had imposter syndrome. I got to go talk to someone else about the issue I'm having. And then this might be something super simple. AI has the ability to just help you identify what you're missing. So using it correctly, it's invaluable. I do not agree that it's a good tool to learn coding with because it takes away a lot of things that you don't have from a critical thinking point of view.
Okay. And I guess from a critical thinking standpoint, like you need that when it comes to creating code and having missteps, identifying what those missteps are.
Yeah, 1,000%, right? It's all about, and that's what a core of our program is. It's how to think like a software engineer so that you can break down a game mechanic or problem to its smallest form and start building it up from scratch. ChatGPT is not going to be your problem solver, all know-how. And if you rely on it for that, then you're just taking away the knowledge that you would be gaining. But once you have that ability of, I'm trying to do this thing and it might not be working correctly, ChatGPT is excellent at being able to read something and explain the behavior of what's happening, and it can give you ideas on how to correct it. It also could, for example, there might be something that you might have some code that's not functioning the way it should, and you're looking at it, it's not giving you compilation errors, but you're like, this should be doing what I'm doing. And then you give it to ChatGPT and you find out that there's some deeper like topic related to the programming language and how it works on why it's behaving the way it is. So it all really comes down to like being able to ask the right questions, not just rely on it to, hey, build me this game. Because if you do that, it's going to give you a bunch of code, but if you didn't learn anything from it, it's not really the most valuable tool.
So on the opposite side of that spectrum, like the fear is that you might have a company with, 20 software developers or 20 software engineers, and now 2 of them can just do ChatGPT in a small amount of time and then eliminate those 18 other jobs. Like, do you see that happening, or do you think that's a farce?
So for our industry specifically, engineers are always going to be needed. And we're engineers, like engineers is a very diverse like field. And it's why it's important to have diversity and inclusion throughout the entire engineering field. But is AI going to essentially, let's say I had 20 engineers, will ChatGPT make it so that we only need 5? I don't believe so. If anything, it's going to allow all of the engineers collectively to work faster and more efficiently. So we're going to have greater output than ChatGPT, or we don't need this much overhead. I think together it would have there would be efficiencies with AI. It's not going to say, if we had overlap to begin with, that means that there was a hiring problem to begin with there. A great example would be like Grand Theft Auto. They got like 1,000 developers that work on that game. ChatGPT is not going to make it to where they don't need 1,000 developers. They're still going to probably need those 1,000 people.
Okay.
It's all about project scope.
They're just going to, I guess, be more efficient and have a more productivity in that same time frame.
Yeah. I mean, so a great example of this is when I was working for an AR startup like 10 years ago, what used to take us 8 hours to debug and think through and scour the internet can now be solved in about 20 minutes through ChatGPT. Wow. That's the serious power of it. Does that mean that we should just fire lay off the other engineer? Absolutely not, because there's still the value of both of us problem solving together. But also, you know what? Hey, I don't need to take away your time to work on my issue, so you can keep working on whatever your thing is.
Okay.
Jonathan, you made a great point earlier about people asking you in Hawaii, how can you help keep students enrolled for 4 years? And I would have asked that question back over to Mario. Since you work in the foundation, maybe you can't speak to this. Do you know if the school is preparing for the enrollment cliff? I don't know if you're familiar with that, but because of the recession from 2006 to 2008, there was a 15% decrease in people born, in people like students born or people born between 2006 or after 2008. And that translates to over 18 years, a 15% decrease in the total number of people who can attend college. So what they're projecting is what they call the enrollment cliff by 2025, that there will be a 15% across the board decrease in total number of enrollable students.
Wow.
I mean, that's not surprising if that's the data for post 2006, but like 2008. I mean, I could definitely see that being a problem for a lot of the universities. I don't think it's going to affect us. Our enrollment numbers are just, we have more interest than we can actually serve right now. I think college alternative is going to continue to be on the climb, especially throughout the homeschool market. Price conscious parents is for sure. I mean, 2024 enrollment tuition data just came out for like the top Ivy League schools in the nation. And the cheapest of them was like $84,000. And the Ivy League of game dev colleges is $154,000 for 4 years.
Gosh.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is so crazy. Whereas $15,000 to $20,000, we will actually get you placed in a career, and we don't need the additional whatever they're charging you for 4 years there. It is so crazy. The enrollment cliff, though, and how I've seen schools here in Hawaii, for example, battling that, is schools are trying to figure out certificate programs now. So they are getting into like IT and cybersecurity certificates. So it's not a degree program, but it's a fast track 8 to 12 month thing that they hope you actually apply towards like a cybersecurity degree. And that's where they're going to lose, because that right there, that mindset is that you don't want them to finish or graduate early. You know, for us, if a student goes through our program and gets hired in 4 weeks, fantastic. I don't care if you finish the rest of the curriculum, because I know, and other engineers know this, that you're going to learn more in your first 90 days than you will ever learn through our 900 hours of curriculum. It's how the world works. But colleges, they will not let you graduate early. You are not eligible to start applying for a job yet until you finish and get that certificate or get these credits. If you take that job, you're not going to be eligible for our degree program. It's mind blowing. It's so backwards.
Yeah. Now to your point, from a model standpoint, the model allows a person to want to do your schooling because they're able to scale quicker from a job standpoint. They not have to spend that money. I mean, the answer your question, Marcus. So I know for us being an HBCU, and the whole kind of allure and the pump up of HBCUs enrollment has went up the last few years, but if it's a cliff, it doesn't matter if you're HBCU or traditional, PWI, everybody's going to fall off that cliff. So I'd imagine when that happens, we're going to have some enrollment troubles as well, or at least a decrease. I don't say troubles, but a decrease.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and here's another thing. So like we tracked, like we did a ton of research with the current institutions that we target as like, these are quote unquote the best CS colleges in America, and what we are trying to create as like a replacement alternative. And a lot of these schools, like it's insane, the enrollment numbers that they do. They are in the tens of thousands on some of them. But two, this faculty that they have, their payroll on an annual basis can be in the hundreds of millions of dollars, versus our payroll is significantly not that. It's also why we don't need $80,000 to $120,000 for your tuition. And that right there, we can operate efficiently and lean, and we will never be the scale of a traditional college.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know this. There is one university I'll name drop. They're a really well-respected one. It's called SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design. Yeah. They're a great design school, great game dev school. They are they're now over $100,000 a year for their 4-year program. But I also had no idea that they are literally a global institution that they enroll like 20, 30,000 people a year from all over the US. And that's insane when you look at the numbers of that across the board of 100,000 for a 4-year education. Yeah. And they're an art school. Yeah. Are there really that many art related field jobs in the United States for this? And their expenses are high, and their enrollment is so high because they have to maintain that. Yeah. And we're looking at it as, for at least the CS ones, we can scale efficiently, and we will never be, and that's why we're going through the licensing process now with the whole accreditation stuff. I don't want to charge $80,000. I don't want to put someone in debt for the rest of their lives. I don't need to. We can operate at scale efficiently at a 15 to 20K price point, cut the entire collegiate system, what the market says tuition is, and we'll just continue getting our students jobs and focusing on that outcome.
Yeah, and you guys don't have the overhead either, so I'd imagine
it's fully remote. Yeah, we're totally 100% distributed across the US.
Yeah, and I would think like no paper books, everything's digital. So I mean, from a cost standpoint, you probably are very, very lean. I'm not asking about the books, but I mean you're very, very lean, I imagine, when it comes to schooling, correct?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's a hybrid experience of real-time services and technical coaching to on-demand course generation. So I don't need to have a building or a thing like that. You're not going anywhere. I don't have a ton of faculty that have to handle and grade. We have a lot of processes in place that are really just efficient, to where as the school grows, we just hire more technical coaches, which can even be promoted from internal students that graduate, to promote like that type of community. And then there's just it's really curriculum. If we wanted to go super hard in just creating new curriculum, staying current, it's adding on XR experts, it's adding on iOS experts. The way it's working right now, though, is it's super lean and it's super efficient. The LMS platform handles everything. We have a whole bunch of data analytics that we use to track everything. It's in no scenario do I see us having an overhead of payroll expenses specifically where we operate nearly at the cost of a university.
Yeah,
there's just no way.
Yeah, overhead's expensive. Again, having said my own firm, I definitely understand to the point, like as say, like the past 2 years, the hires we have, we've been just all remote, all virtual, just to keep the cost down and provide a better service to clients. So I don't know if we're being trolled, but I had a question. How does exercising in the morning help you progress? So do you talk about that in your curriculum?
I don't talk about that at all. My wife tries to get me to run in the morning. I'm gonna be a question for you guys.
And I used to exercise in the morning. I didn't exercise, so you're definitely trolling me right now because I was a bad person. I hit the snooze button a few more times this morning. So
my 1-year-old's like 35 pounds. That's all the exercise I need is trying to get him back and forth across the house.
That's awesome. So what it goes, I know we just asked a lot of questions about the school, but this is amazing stuff. So give us a 3-year, 5-year, and 10-year outlook.
3-year, 5-year, 10-year. That's a great question. 3-year, 5-year. I would say definitely. Just from a 3-year point of view, having everything that we have available for licensing to schools across the nation, because we're going to severely undercut them all, and they can either adopt our curriculum or buy us. And until they make one of those options, we will continue to just undercut tuition costs across the board. We are heavily shifting to, we love working with adult learners. Like that's where the impact is really like life-changing. People who've never made more than $30,000 in their life going to work for like Niantic and make $80,000. I absolutely love that. It's what's kept us going for years. But where we see a huge opportunity right now is with the younger markets of like early high school career seekers, homeschool markets. If you ask me, like over the next 3 to 5 years, like we will have more of that, where our program is being more structured to mimic a collegiate route, so that we can actually offer, hey, for parents, this is a 1-year structured program, and here's all the things that we do to support to support those students and things like that. Adult learners never going to go away. We're always going to support them. And then the 10-year route is really to be acquired. My passion in everything we do is to train the best software engineers on the planet. I love coding, and I love helping people understand how to understand code and write code from scratch. And until I lose that passion, which I doubt I will, I've had it for 16 years now, I'm going to continue just training the best engineers on the planet. And I work with amazing people, where like our tuition, when people look like, what does $15,000, $20,000 go into? It goes into investing into the best mentors and career placement advisors that money can buy, because I want to make sure that my students are the best when you compare them against any 4-year college grad in existence. And so that takes people who dominate in their industry, whether it's from a resume writing point of view, whether it's from a games industry mentor point of view. It's working with the best people.
That's awesome. And it kind of piggyback, you said like the early learners, specifically high school, even middle school. Like, is it something that you think you might tap into that market to kind of do some kind of soft curriculum to kind of get them involved more? so that they can grow and then just go and use the university, or you think you're just going to continue to help like the adult education route?
And I'm sorry, Mario, you're gonna have to. I was looking at the side of the eye of my comments here. Please repeat that question.
Yeah. So you talked about just briefly about like the high schoolers, the early education. So is that something in the future you might write some curriculum for like the middle schoolers and the high schoolers, something that's hands-on and softer, or you're just going to continue to concentrate on the adult education route?
Yeah, so yeah, it's a good question. So that's what we're currently doing. So we work with like Isaiah's team, and what we're doing with Marcus with like Alamo. We have a high school program. It's K-12.
Okay.
It's called our K-12 program. It's for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. It's a full 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th 2-semester based program that's actually live and operating in schools. And that program is designed for those kids to have two options when they graduate high school. One, they'll receive a scholarship to join GameDevHQ as a college alternative if that's the route they want to go, or we want to help them get into the best CS program in America. And we'll help you because they're going to have 4 years of coding experience in high school. I guarantee you by the time you finish college now, 4 years from that point, you have 8 years of experience. You're a senior engineer. You should be making $100K out the gate. Or you can start making $60,000, $70,000 after high school. It's really optional for you to go to the universities and colleges if you don't want to. Because what we'll do is we're going to take the 4 years that you just spent in high school programming video games through our 101, 102 series, and we're then going to put you on our extensive, aggressive track of engineering, and we're going to just start working with you from a career point of view. We're going to put you with our resume team. We're going to put you with our career team, and we're actually just going to start getting you interviews and going that route because why wait 4 years for this? You're ready now.
So that sounds more like a correct me if I'm wrong, but like more like a vocational school.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly what that's how the state views us. That's what we're filing for. We're going to be a vocational school. So that's the difference between vocational as well as like when you look at like what's recognized by the Department of Education, you have vocational schools and then you have degree granting schools. We will never be a degree granting school because degree granting schools require 40 hours of that general education, and not a chance are we going to have humanity services at GameDevHQ or anything like that. But what it does
that class, man.
Exactly, yeah. We're not teaching natural history or English at GameDevHQ. What it does allow for, though, so what we're going for is accreditation as a vocational school. And what that allows us to do is we can actually then go up to University of Hawaii or other colleges and we can partner with them and say, hey, these students just went through our program and this would qualify for, say, 26 credits towards your CS degree. Would you accept them? And if you do, then we're going to promote that upon graduation of us, they could actually continue their education with University of Hawaii or whatever universities we want to work with. It makes it easier to establish those relationships once you get the accreditation.
Okay. How long is the accreditation process?
Long. It's long, except for fingers crossed in Hawaii. Hawaii's laziness and just general like vibe here might be the reason it happens as early as like Q2 of 2024.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of less strict protocols here in Hawaii compared to, we looked at filing in Delaware and California and Florida, and man, the hoops would have taken like 2-3 years. Hawaii though, like 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I know at our university we was going through accreditation. It was about 1.5 years, and it was just I'm not gonna say it was a mess, but it was tedious. I'll just say that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, and we're, I recommend anyone who wants to do that route, like work with a post-secondary consultant, and they do all the stuff for us. They helped us build, like, we have a whole, it's crazy. I was just showing my wife it the other day. We just received our catalog, which is like what universities showcase all their program policies and programs. And like, we had to package it up to look like a school. And man, it is cool. It's really cool. I mean, we're really excited about looking more collegiate to like the younger audience.
Okay.
Jonathan, as you prepare this shift for the business, have you considered tracking like time to employment, or rather like time to earn back the expense of tuition as like a key
time to earn back tuition? So realistically, looking at it just this year alone, we're at $88,000 for your starting salary. So it's only $15,000 to $21,000 depending on scholarships available to go through our program. Within 3-4 months, your tuition is covered from a salary point of view. Most students pay off their tuition within a year. So like a lot of students will get hired at the 6-month to 8-month point, and then they actually don't have their first payments with our lenders until like 4 months later. And so during that time, you can just pay double. If your payment was $300, pay 600. Like you're making 80,000, you can afford $600. It's less than 10% of what you're making. Pay that thing off in a year and take care of it.
Do you have like a financial literacy like coaching to the students? Because if someone's working a minimum wage job and then all of a sudden they start making an $80,000 salary, how are they mentally prepared to make that shift? Right. I remember when I graduated, I was like, oh, I was working at Georgia Southern. I was making $36,000 a year. And then I started as a software developer here in Florida. I can tell you I did not pay off my student loans.
Yeah, I mean, our enrollment conversations like encourage it, like, because otherwise the interest could be, especially now, market conditions now are insane. I actually very much am angry with like the lender process right now because the loans are predatory. The ones that, especially when the interest rates are as high as 20%, that's ridiculous. And like now you're being gatekept from upskilling unless you put yourself in a crazy amount of debt. So we always express like, hey, focus, do this right, get hired, and pay this thing off. All right. We have students who can pay it off in a year, 2 years, pay it off, avoid all this interest, make it so that you only paid $15,000 to $20,000 for this program. And then the ROI is infinite when you're in this field. I mean, ideally, you're going to be in this career field for the next 25, 30 years. And your floor is at $60,000 to $80,000. We have some students now who have come back to us and said, I think our highest earning student is $240,000 as a VR developer for a Miami like architectural firm. Like that is crazy. Yeah. And so like that's the reality. And this is someone who came from never making $60,000 in their life. And so now they're making all that money. So what do? We don't necessarily have anything to prepare them for that much money. But he's debt free.
Yeah.
So that's one of the perks of it right now. And then at that point, I mean, I would recommend what you guys do, right? Teaching financial literacy. I think it's so important to have that. Spend responsibly. I mean, there's many people in the finance realm that you'd be able to talk to. I don't know where you guys stand on like the Ramsey guy. I don't remember his first name. Is it Dave?
Yeah.
Dave, okay. Dave, and there's certain people, I look at Dave and I'm just like, I'm not that kind. He doesn't want me eating out 5 times a week. And sometimes I like to eat out 5 times a week. And Dave Ramsey doesn't want me paying with a credit card, but I have the responsibility of I'm going to pay off my credit cards every month in full.
Right.
Do we teach that to our students? No. My job is to train you to be a software engineer. What you do outside that realm, I'm gonna say check out Marcus and what Mario's doing over here.
Yeah, it's funny you said that. I was actually, that's why I laughed. I was actually a Dave Ramsey endorsed financial advisor for about 3 years because like assets I manage and things of that nature, and he's Christian, and I the name of my practice, Thomas Financial, so it's Christian based from a name standpoint. But philosophies are different. Like to the point, like he doesn't want you to eat out. Nothing against him, it works, but like not eating out. I'm big on using credit cards because I love the points. Like I fly everywhere for free.
The points, my wife is the points queen, man. I know how it goes, and everything goes on a credit card because we want the points. And Dave Ramsey's all about don't do that, don't do that.
So it definitely got to the point.
It's not my expertise to tell people how to manage their money.
Yeah. So it got to the point that's like, you know what, Dave, thank you for the referrals, but we just don't align. But to that point, though, I mean, I do have my own investment firms. We have an offline conversation about building some curriculum, something that we can definitely talk about in the future. But I was running the numbers, right? So if a person on the low end makes $60,000 a year, right, it seems like it's about a $240,000 kind of difference over 4-year time period, right? Because they have the $80,000 that they don't have to pay from a college standpoint if it's $80,000 over 4 years, right? The first year, we're not going to count that because they're paying, but then if they make $60,000 over 3 years, $60,000 in their pocket, that's $180 plus the 80 that they're not paying from a tuition standpoint. It's about a $240,000 difference. Just kind of rough numbers. Am I about correct with that?
Yeah. And we're talking most of our students average tuition is like 15 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we look at it as we could absolutely be charging more. We've had students who graduate $31,000 coding boot camps and then come to us, and we're just like, how are you not? Why are you not angry?
Yeah.
And then they go through our program and we get them hired in like 6 weeks, because most people, what they're missing is they're engineers. Like in engineering, training you to be an engineer is the easy part. It's the career aspect, and it's amazing how many people get this wrong. And it's something that we've specialized in for years, which is understanding how LinkedIn works and understanding how to actually get hired and how to go through the technical process in the interviews. That's where the value of what GameDevHQ brings. And we look at it as it is a great value for what it is. I don't need to price gauge and do everything like that. We run a wildly great, successful, profitable company. And my goal is to keep it affordable so that we stop putting people in debt. My entire team is filled with many who have kids who are homeschooling right now. And they're like, we love GameDevHQ and everything we're doing in this direction because we don't want to send our own kids to college. Like, it's $80,000 to $100,000. They want their kids to go through GameDevHQ because they're going to graduate debt free. And we have some kids right now that are in our program who are 15, 16 years old. Their parents put them in while they're in high school. And these kids are insanely good engineers. The day they turn 18, they're going to make $60,000 out of the gate. But on top of that, let's say 2 years from now, they're kids. They can change their mind. They don't want to do this anymore in 2 years. That's okay. One, their parents only paid like 12 grand for this. So it's equivalent to sending your kid to gymnastics for 4 years. Parents are happy. And worst case scenario, let's say the kid doesn't want to do computer engineering and things like that. That's fine. They have an incredible skill set to fall back on. If whatever they want to pursue doesn't work out, they will always be able to come back to engineering. And that muscle memory, just like when you haven't gone to the gym in a year, that muscle memory is still there when it comes to programming and problem solving. Debugging as a universal skill can be applied to so many different industries. So it's an amazing fallback opportunity for those kids. So the parents, your kid's debt free. And if he wants to go explore something else, great. And if he wants to come back and do this, fantastic. We'll absolutely support them in getting a career with this.
Jonathan, do you have students also as a third option, or maybe fourth? I'm losing track of the numbers now, but instead of going through the professional degree route, like leave and then maybe start their own businesses? Have you had any success stories about that yet?
Yeah. So we do have a few students who have gone on to, like, they start their own, they quote unquote, they start their own indie game studios. They've released games. We have students who have released dozens and dozens of games. You know, has anyone been successful in terms of, like, they created the next Crossy Roads and made millions of dollars and things like that? No, that hasn't happened. But what does happen is, you know, hey, we've had stories of fathers and sons doing our program where they started up their own indie company and they're making games together, and they're just the happiest as can be doing that. And then a lot of them, you know, hey, I was working on my indie studio and that actually led to me getting a job at, like, Bethesda. Like, that happens. Yeah. So it's all a stepping stone. For what we do and what we encourage, go work for someone else and get paid and make your game on the side. Nobody says you can't make games on the side. You're going to be paid professionally to get better at the tool that you're going to use to make video games. Go do that.
What's the most common job your graduates have? Is it like building websites? I know you talked about the architect. Like, what's the kind of most common jobs that they're being hired for?
Yeah, the most common job is virtual reality, augmented reality, enterprise development. So they're working for companies throughout the DoD, whether it's Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Booz Allen Hamilton, L3 Harris. These guys are huge employers of the Unity pipeline. We have a student that's doing stuff at Jaguar right now. The entire automotive and medical industry is exploding with AR and VR. That's the fastest route to take. If you go into VR, which is it's the metaverse, build metaverse technology, build the metaverse. There's billions being invested in that territory. And so it's the easiest route to go. The second route would probably be related to mobile games. And then you're looking at, you know, PC and console and things like that.
Okay. So like I'm gonna say old school, but the 5-10 years ago, I get a software engineer degree and I'm going to build websites. That's out the window now?
So what we do is we train desktop and mobile XR software engineers. And then what you're referring to would be considered like web stack developers. So full stack, front end, back end. We are not training full stack developers, which is what you would build websites with. Okay. We train mobile and desktop console developers. So they're creating applications that, like, for example, Like they're creating applications that you would use on your computer, not necessarily through a web service, like how Restream.io would require a full stack. That's what other coding boot camps do. A lot of them do that. And they focus on things like frameworks like Vue.js, JavaScript, Python, even your Angular JS frameworks, your Ruby on Rails, all that stuff. That's the web technologies. We focus on C#, C++, Unity, Unreal, real-time 3D environments.
Okay. And I don't know if Lem was a student, but he said he had an interview with Johnson & Johnson VR last week. So.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he is a student. I think Lem also, if I'm blanking on him, yeah, he just had an interview with J&J VR last week. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, you name it. Every, and J&J is a big medical pharmaceutical company. Everyone is experimenting throughout their R&D departments right now with virtual reality. But yeah, Lem is a student, and I don't know if Lem also just had like an interview with Meta not too long ago. Don't recall if it was him, or we just had like 6 students go through interviews with Meta.
So question is, how is Johnson & Johnson, who makes like Colgate and baby wipes in the virtual reality space? Like it's interesting.
Yeah. So they're not just in they're not just in like Band-Aid and toothpaste and all that. You know, they're a huge conglomerate, right? So they got a whole bunch of things, but specifically they do a lot of medical testing and medical, I believe, medical equipment and that stuff to train people on how to use it. There's a huge demand right now for actually creating virtual reality content or augmented reality content to service and train on those machines. From a storefront perspective, I know CVS has experimented with this. I've seen Hershey's, like chocolate company, do this. These store displays, you ever walk into like a convenience store, grocery store, and they have store displays of products? You can actually now build those in virtual reality and do fast iteration testing of these designs. And you can actually experiment it. You could walk down the halls and see, does that product display catch my eye? And the best way to see examples of this is through the National Association for Convenience Stores. It's the NACS convention that happens in Vegas. You will see this year entire XR displays dedicated to how they're like experimenting with branding in XR. It's massive. You name it. Every industry has a potential for XR use.
We had a question coming from Victor. He wants to know if you've considered a game consulting firm.
Yes. So we've done some consulting and we've done some training with some DoD partners. So Victor, if you work for like a company that's trying to do DoD, we do training, and then we also help source talent for you guys. So we can place like our students engineering on it. We've done some consulting work in the past.
Yeah, Ralph Lauren has a full VR store. Now I'm thinking, you think about like storefronts, how much it costs to kind of build a storefront. So if you kind of have it sourced and use case scenarios already created before you actually build it, it has to save companies a lot of money. So
it's millions. It's millions in product development and testing and everything like that. I mean, look at the automotive industry. I think BMW said they saved like $500,000 by transitioning their production pipeline of how they design cars into Unity. Like it was like a huge, ridiculous cost savings because everything's virtual. Digital twins is also a rapid growing industry where we're seeing airports now create replicas of themselves in a 1-to-1 dimensional scale in VR so that they can do what is it called? They want to improve processes and like efficiencies throughout airports. They're saving millions of dollars by doing it virtually. And then through the power of AI, you can do simulation testing. I can put 1 billion people through my airport in about 5 minutes and see where my inefficiency bottlenecks are.
Yeah, well, for a person that has TSA pre-check, they need to help. They need to work that out.
Yeah, exactly. So we're seeing it all over, and now cities and municipalities across the nation, they're like duplicating their cities. Like Orlando is just created an XR city where they're now using it for urban development and all sorts of stuff. Hawaii here is looking at it from a point of how do we save Waikiki. Because in 20 years, like our Waikiki beachfront is going to be completely gone. So they're experimenting. Okay, wow, let's simulate what's going to happen in 20 years. And they can create all these different weather conditions, how the ocean's going to affect it. Unity and Unreal are capable of complete physics simulations. And so we don't have to just wait and see what's going to happen. Let's get this simulated now and see how we can actually prevent it? How many sandbags do we have to put out to slow this?
Right. Wow, that's amazing. Oh, that blew my mind. Okay. I know one thing though. I'm definitely happy about the Apple headset that's coming out next year. So yeah.
That's a big step for XR. When you get Apple's endorsement into the XR realm, I'm sure that was actually a sigh of relief from Mark Zuckerberg, because when he went all in on this, that had to have been terrifying. And now you have Apple coming on the scene, who is known for making amazing products, and they're probably going to have the best headset in the market.
Yeah,
probably.
I was telling Marcus on a previous podcast we did, I was actually very, very close to buying land in the metaverse. Then of course everything crashed last year. I'm happy I didn't. So man, I might want to revisit it now.
Yeah, be careful with that. The whole world of like NFTs and stuff, that's all dicey, and land in the metaverse
is being generous.
Yeah, but the problem with that is like, you buy something in this metaverse, and then there's nothing stopping me from just replicating it. And now I also have that land, and it's I don't know, it's dicey. But Ready Player One wise, we're definitely getting close to that. There's a company called Ready Player Me, which allows you to create digital avatars and put them into every gaming experience in existence, and it's really cool. They've come a long way. But it's the step closer to where we will be shopping and playing with our own avatars, and it's going to be pretty cool.
Oh boy, scary stuff, but at the same time, fun stuff though.
I know. Yeah, the future is insane for what's happening, and there's out of 1 million jobs needed by 2025 for software engineers, there's maybe 300,000 qualified for them right now, and most of them are already employed. There is such a shortage that there is so much demand for the metaverse right now that we don't have enough people who can build it. Facebook is still hiring like 3,000 people between now and 2025 to just build content for their Horizon stuff.
So
like it's
so I mean, what's with the short? What's going to happen? Like, is it just? I mean, it's not going to just fall apart. So it's going to be a longer time frame for things to get created. Is that what's?
Yeah, it's going to be a longer time frame, and this is not just a U.S. problem. This is a global problem. There is a global shortage of engineers. You got other first world countries who also have this problem. America has a different problem right now where things are just ridiculously priced. Like, in order to be quote unquote livable as a software engineer, the standard now is 100K. And you can still go to Germany, or you can still go to Japan, other first world nations. Their senior engineers are making like 85,000. It is still reasonable. Only in America does a $400,000 salary as an engineer exist, because tech culture in Silicon Valley, they have like ruined America for tech. And it leads to a lot of the stuff we saw in all the layoffs, all the crazy layoffs we saw. For the first time ever, we saw engineers. It wasn't really this year. This year, the games industry had some crazy amount of layoffs, but it's usually not the engineers that are getting let go. I think it was either at the beginning of this year or late last year, there was a wave of layoffs in tech. It was like 40,000 tech workers or something like that. And Google was even laying off. Google and Amazon were both laying off engineers who've been there for like 20 years. This is the first time where we saw significantly senior people getting let go. And it's because these senior people are making over $1 million as engineers, when the same guy in Oklahoma or gal in Oklahoma will do that job for 80 grand. And within 2 years, they will be just as good as that guy who's been doing it for 20 years. I promise you. And so that landscape is changing. That's why remote work is taking off. You know, I have a student who lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and works for California companies, and he makes $110,000 a year. Like, that is a sweet gig all day long, because in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you can buy a house for under $100,000 still. Very few places in America exist like that. And I don't know what's going to happen with our salary ranges. You know, right now the entry level salary is starting to approach like 70,000 as a baseline, where in Japan and Germany, I can get a really good engineer, or even in London, I can get a really good engineer that's a senior for 75.
Wow.
And so we're going to start to see some interesting shifts in that place. But nonetheless, we need 1 million engineers here at home in America by 2025. So does Germany. So does the rest of the world. Everyone needs their own engineers. There's a huge opportunity throughout like populations like Vietnam, the Philippines, Nigeria. Like, these places also have the same engineering problems to solve through technology that we do. So they don't have engineers, and they can't afford the US engineers. So they
Right.
need to train up theirs. And that's what Unity is doing now, is Unity is working with governments across like the Middle East right now to upskill talent for their local communities.
So you think companies will actually start decreasing salaries or having a salary freeze because of the markup in salaries?
I don't think it's a salary freeze. I think it's going to be we're going to go ahead and start considering software engineers from Detroit versus software engineers here in Silicon Valley.
Okay.
Because a Detroit software engineer, I can get someone for 60 grand, and they'll grow with our company over the next 5-10 years, and they'll be happy making 130. The person who lives in Palo Alto, I got to pay them $250,000 over the next 5 years in order for them to stay here.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a big shift of where is it affordable to live. We're going to see, I mean, we're already seeing that. So like I from a financial literacy point of view, I'm obsessed with real estate, but like the big places we see people moving to for affordability are places like Kansas City, Oklahoma. We see Toledo, Ohio, and Detroit, Michigan. These are the only places left in America where you can probably purchase a home for sub 100. Outside of that, you are screwed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the interest rates, the housing market. If you want to live in a populated city, you got to go to where it's still affordable. And we're seeing people exit California, people exiting Florida, people exiting Atlanta to start moving to Ohio and Detroit. And so I have no problem hiring an engineer from there, because in this field, I know that by working professionally, you're going to learn more than any other college or institution, or even I myself could teach you. So it's not a matter of do you have the skills, it's are you ready to learn? And if you have the desire and passion to work, then great. You'll be the best engineer I have. And if it takes 2-3 years, it doesn't matter. I'm going to save myself hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah. You're going to have a great life and living and lifestyle with that salary. And I can still stay in California if I want to keep my company here.
Okay. Yeah. And if I have many engineers, I can scale as well, because I had them a lot at a lower price, lower salary. I mean, okay.
Yeah, that's interesting, because there's a big debate now about kind of ending hybrid work and the kind of mandating the return to work. But what you're saying is like that's not fiscally sustainable. So
and you look at the roles who's being forced to come back. I talk to engineers at like all these top companies all the time, because we get a lot of feedback from them. They're working from home. The good engineers, the quote unquote engineers, you're not going to be asked to go back into the office. And if you are, it's going to be like 2 days a week, maybe. Some of them are, like I have a friend at Google who was asked, so he was actually living here temporarily in Hawaii, and he was actually forced to move back back close to the office, because he does have to go in there now 2 days a week. But the way it's working across these big companies, and it's managerial discretion. So while he had to move back here, he has another friend who's still here because his boss was like, hey, you're getting your stuff done. I'm not going to force you to move back here. It really comes down to productivity. And like, that's I don't even know. It's a double-edged sword for some people, because I've been a remote worker for like 10 years now. And I love it. I can never go back to the office, but I also do recognize that there are people who work better in a collaborative environment, and, you know, they don't have the ability to set like boundaries and that goal of I'm in work mode and I need to get stuff done. So I don't know what the issue, I don't know how to solve that problem, but the answer for tech is not bring all the engineers in-house, because what you're going to do is you just lost now your 10-year engineer. I promise you, if a company in Oklahoma will offer him $100,000 base, he will happily switch to that company for the freedom and flexibility to work remotely, to spend more time with his kids. Don't make me sit in traffic for an hour.
Yeah.
It's prime productivity.
Yeah.
Well, Jonathan, this has been awesome. Thank you for sharing all these insights.
This was fun. Thanks for the invite, Marcus. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, but before we go, if you'll pick someone, not the person who's been steadily trolling us for the last.
I see it.
Someone else who either asked great questions or had a really inspiring comment. We want to gift them.
I found this on the web for check it out.
Okay. The one that stuck out to me was the comment about GameDevHQ has a degree and GameDevHQ is better, was Denise.
Excellent. Thanks, Denise. Well, you have earned a gift, 2 gifts. You get a digital copy of The Relaxed Investor from Mario, and a digital copy of Innovate Gaming and Esports. I will send that to you. If we're not connected on LinkedIn, I'll work with Jonathan to get connected with you so we can get those over to you. And
cool.
then, Jonathan, before we go, can you let everybody know where they can find you and support you? And
Yeah, of course. LinkedIn's always an open door. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can just search GameDevHQ. You can find us on GameDevHQ.com. And if if you are interested in learning to code or sending your kids through us as a college alternative experience, you can chat with our enrollment team.
Excellent, excellent.
Cool.
Mario, where can people find you and support you?
Yeah, very easy. At Painful Profits, or Google my name, Mario Payne, but at Painful Profits. I'm almost at 11,000 subs on Instagram, so somebody likes us. So follow us. We do some great content about the market on a day-to-day basis. The good stocks, the bad stocks, and the ugly stocks. But definitely give us a follow. We're definitely here to help.
Excellent, excellent. And then that's it for season 2. This is actually a season 2 finale. We're closing out the year. We'll kick back up, boot back up in January 4th on Thursday. We're bringing back Amir Satvat as our first guest for season 3. So we'll see you in 3 weeks. If we don't see you before then, thank you for your support of season 2. Have a happy holidays and a happy new year.
Yep.
See you later.